Hello and welcome to an introduction to programming using Visual Basic exercises for beginners. In this exercise we are going to create a restaurant menu. We are to write a program to place an order from the restaurant menu. We should group the menu and make each group box invisible, and it becomes visible only when its corresponding checkbox is checked. After the button is clicked, the cost of the meal should be displayed. And note that the checked property of the radio button in each group should be set to true. This guarantees that a selection is made in each visible group box. Here is a form, fairly simple, with 3 checkboxes for burgers, fries and drinks, and corresponding radio buttons for the burgers, fries and drinks, with prices on them. And when we click the calculate cost of the meal, it will perform just that. It will calculate the cost of the meal and display the result in the text box on the bottom of the form. Here is the table for the prices and meals, and we're going to follow that closely. And the instructions note that one radio button should be checked for each of the visible radio button groups, and that's because if we perform calculations against unchecked radio buttons, we would get an error. This is basically just a default selection. So every time we click the checkbox for the burgers, the choices for burgers will show up and the regular burger will be selected by default. The same with fries. When we click fries, choices for fries will show up and small fries will be selected by default. So here I am in Visual Studio 2015 and this is my form. When I run it right now, you can see that the radio buttons are not visible. They will become visible once we check the checkboxes. So to make them invisible at the start of the program, I selected the group and go to the properties, and in visible I made it false for each of them. You can see that the group for fries is false for visible, and so is for the drinks. So now when we start the form, these are not visible and we'll have to make them visible during our program. So let's get coding, and the first thing we're going to do is to make sure that we can display the radio buttons. So I'll double click the checkbox on the burgers, go to the check burgers checked changed, meaning that the status of the checkbox changed. It's going to be either selected or not selected, and if it's selected we will make the radio buttons for the burgers visible. And again, the radio buttons are grouped in a group for choices for burgers, and I call that group over here, you can see I call it GRP burgers. The fries are obviously GRP fries and drinks will be GRP drinks. So we can code against the visible property of the group rather than each individual radio button. So let's go to the checked changed event for the burgers and make the radio buttons visible. So we will make an if statement. If the checkbox is checked, we will make it visible. So simply do if the checkbox for the checked burgers dot checked, then we can make it visible, and we'll make the group GRP burgers dot visible equals true. And we need to make one of the radio buttons selected by default, and we'll do the first one. So it's going to be radio buttons regular, so that's the regular burger dot checked, and we'll make it true. Now if it is not selected, or if the checkbox for the burgers is not checked, then we will make the GRP burgers dot visible equals false. We don't want it displayed at all. And we'll do the same for the other 2 checkboxes. So I'll just double click the fries and I'll copy paste this if statement and paste it right in there. But this one obviously is not going to be about burgers. This one will be of the fries. So checkbox for the fries and group for the fries. And again, it's not gonna be the regular. It's going to be, since this is for the fries, it's going to be the small fries. And lastly, we'll do the same for the drinks. And again, I'll just copy paste the if statement, and this one will be for the drinks. Alright, so here's my code to make the radio buttons visible. Let's check it out. Let's run it and see if it works. So if I click burgers, it makes visible, fries, visible, drinks, visible, and if I uncheck them, they disappear. So it's working correctly. So the next thing we're going to do is to calculate the cost of the meal. So I'll double click the button, and in order to calculate the total cost of the meal, I'm going to create a variable that will hold the value of it. So I will call it sum, and it's going to be a double, and I'll initialize it to 0. We'll start from 0, and as we order items, we will add to it. So let's do an if statement for the burgers first. So if the check burgers is checked, then we have to see which radio button is selected and add the amount for that meal to the sum. So we will do another if statement, and it's going to be, if the regular burger is selected, then we will add the plus equals 4.19. That's the cost of the regular burger. Else if the radio button of the cheese is checked, in other words, that's the burger with cheese, or the radio button for the bacon is checked, then we'll add 4.79. It's plus equals, sorry. That's the cost of the cheeseburger and the bacon burger. And else if the radio button cheese and bacon is selected or checked, then we'll add plus equals 5.39. That's the cost of the cheeseburger with bacon. And this will calculate the cost of our burger. Let me just format it better. And we will calculate the cost of the fries and the cost of the drinks in pretty much the same way. We will check if the fries are selected, if the checkbox is selected, and if it is, then we will see which radio button is selected and apply the cost of that particular meal to our sum. So this is for our fries. We have the small, medium and large, and we are using sum because we may have cheeseburger with fries and a drink. That's going to be the total sum. We don't just look for the cost of one of the meals. We keep adding to it based on how many selections the user made. And lastly, we'll do the same for the drinks. So if the user selects soda, we'll add 169. If the user selects water, then we'll add 149. And now at the end, after we calculate the total sum, we can display the result in our text box. So txt cost.text equals, and we are displaying the sum. However, we are displaying it as a currency, so I'll do it toString and display it as C with 2 decimal places. So let's run it and see if it works. So I'll select burgers. Let's say I'll select the with bacon and fries. Let's say large. I'll display cost. It's 978, which is 479 plus 499. If I want a drink, let's say a water, it updates the cost. It adds the 149 to it. If I deselect burgers, if I just want fries with water, I'll click calculate and it adds 499 plus 149, which is 648. So this is working correctly. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next video.